Yeah. All right, you should be able to hear me now, Riddick. Just let me know if you would. Okay. All right. Now, Link. Are you in your house?
Yeah. Can you hear background noise?
Oh, just kids. Sounds like kids.
It's his show. I'll turn it down.
Oh. It's not a bother. I was talking while I'm working over here.
I'm just looking for the remote. Yeah, I set up my desk in pretty much like right outside the living room because I like to, when I'm kind of working on stuff, I like to also feel like I'm part of the family a little bit.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
It's like my multitasking.
Yeah. You said it's so funny, though. I'm sorry. I had to laugh. Okay, I am not going to share it on Twitter because I'm having a login issue. So, and I don't know why. And I don't want to troubleshoot that. You got enough going on.
Yeah, while you're talking, I'll try to post it. At least it'll be online.
There you go. And then I can repost it. That's a good idea. We got 15 people watching on YouTube. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Appreciate it. Hit the like button. Helps the algorithm. And thanks to, oh, man, give me a second. Artemis of the Grays. He made that thumbnail very kindly. Very kind man. And we even have thumbnails for next week and the week following. So that's great. They're all the same. So when you see it on YouTube, you'll know that that's the recording of a Twitter space. And I have some visuals pulled up. Guys, if you have any ideas for different visuals, because like last week was the first week that we give me a second, that we did this Twitter space and live stream at the same time, and it worked out. It really did. So while people were talking, I was trying to stay on topic with some visuals, but also, if there was nothing applicable, I just kind of dinked around on my computer on various topics: pulse chain, pTGC, and UFO. If you know of any other good visuals that I can have tabs pulled up for and ready, great. I mean, I've got pulse chain, the DeFi Llama. I have Go Pulse. I have, the various charts. I don't want to go right there just yet. And of course, TGC, the TGC website, DBank, all that stuff. So if you see anything that I'm missing, just ping me on Telegram or Twitter, and I can, because I'm looking for visuals. Like I've got the bubbles pulled up, and thanks, Shaka. Yeah, that's a good. I am not great at thumbnails. Artemis did a great job. I just haven't put the time into thumbnails. I'm like, I just want to get stuff out. But yeah, man, we have the Yoda in here. So, does anybody not know who Yoda is? Shaka, Michael. It looks like, we have a request. Who is this? Romeo 11. Invite to speak. Romeo 11, you should be able to speak, man. Oh, and Shaka. Okay, I was able to add you, Shaka, as a speaker, but Romeo, for some reason, I keep hitting invite to speak, and it won't allow you for some reason. Maybe I need to
I think
follow
you can only have so many speakers at once, so you could kick me back off. But I just wanted to bring up real quick on your Twitter, what's posted is the recording from I'm assuming when you were trying to set this up this morning.
Yeah.
So it shows the recording of this space that's 5 minutes long. So I'm afraid people see that, they may think it's over. So I don't know if maybe you could delete that tweet.
True. Yep. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'm working on that right now. Yeah, I hit the wrong button. And it closed it. And I'm like, oh no. So bear with me. I'm going to tune out. And I am going to take, before I do that, no, I'm just going to do it. Because that is important. All right, go to my profile. 22 people in here. Love it. Profile. All right. Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to take away speaker from Shaka.
I think you're allowed like 10 people up, so you could leave them up here to chime in.
Okay.
But Romeo, if he requested, I don't think you invite him when he requests. You have to confirm his request. So it might have just got confused somehow.
Sure. All I see though is invite to speak, and I did the same thing for Shaka.
Yeah. Did Romeo request to speak?
Yes. Let's see.
So
let me see a double check here.
When they request, I think you're supposed to confirm
it. Okay, he's labeled as a listener now, so perhaps he revoked his request.
Okay. But yeah, you're allowed like 10 people up, so I don't think you have to kick Shaka.
It was a pretty exciting week this week. I trust some of the people on this call sniped that low.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're on a VC talking about it midweek. So we had a dip in pulse chain, and then now we're having some green in pulse chain, which is nice. I think it's well deserved since it's been like 3 months.
Yeah. Yep. Green. Let's pull the chart up. So I've been spending a lot of time in the field, literally, oftentimes, cutting grass this summer. And so I've been mobile a lot. And so, but when I'm mobile, sometimes I'm out there, like I'll pull up my phone and I'm like checking the prices. I'm like, and yesterday it hit me. Pretty much all I got to do is pull up the UFO price, because that pretty much tells me everything. No, not UFO. I'm sorry, Pulse. If Pulse is pumping, everything else is going to be pumping, pretty much. Give me just a second. Yeah, with this internet issue, it messed up a lot of my links here, I think. All right. WPLS. So we have 3 days of green in a row. The last time we had 3 or more was back in early June.
I think we also had a decent volume uptick too the last few days, which hasn't been for a while either.
True. Which is great for our ecosystem. You know, another thing that hit me last night was, and I've heard you say it repeatedly, that pTGC and UFO is, it's a leverage on, no, you say it, I think you said it's a tax on the volatility of the Pulse network. And it must have hit home for me this week because we saw sizable volatility to the downside. I think it was on Monday or Tuesday. And the volume for UFO and pTGC was significant. And so we were increasing, our rewards were increasing as the price chart was decreasing. And so we truly are a tax on the volatility of the network. And, you know, let's say Pulse does 100x from here, there's going to be volatility in there. If we shot straight up to 100x, yes, there would be rewards, but it's all the volatility between where we are now and the 100x, which is where we're going to see the most of our gains. You know, does that make sense, Zen?
Yeah, exactly. Like we all know with crypto, the only guarantee is the volatility of the market. The markets move up, the markets move down. It's never a straight line. So that's what's just so awesome about these protocols is we're taking advantage of pretty much the only guarantee in all of markets and all of crypto and using that utility to ultimately increase the value of a singular asset or a singular couple of assets, pTGC, UFO, etc. Never, in my opinion, it's never been done in crypto. You know, I guess maybe you could consider like a centralized exchange kind of doing that because as volatility shifts, they charge people for getting in and stuff like that. But for like a singular person to actually have the opportunity to get into a microcap with tech behind it like this, like even if like a larger token was doing something like this, like you would never obviously be able to get that token at these prices. That token would not have a VC and starting at hundreds of millions of market cap just right at launch. So I definitely think it's just a unique opportunity that we have here with the token bonded at the bottom of Pulse Chain with it being a microcap. Still no one knows about the tech. The tech is brand new and really no one even knows about Pulse Chain at this point if you look at the user base in the grand scheme of things of the crypto market. So, you know, it's early and I think the machine's already proven itself to work really well. The first 4x, 5x of Pulse Chain, pTGC ran up like 15x, and then we're right back to where we were, 6 months ago. It's not as far as pTGC, but as far as Pulse Chain goes, like Pulse Chain ran up and then it ran back down to ultimately the exact same price. But so if you're a Pulse Chain holder, you just round tripped it. There's no change. You have the same amount of tokens. You rode your PLS up 4x and then rode it back down. But with pTGC, when that round trip happened, we increased the price of our pTGC by 5x. We earned APY the whole entire time. And then we also moved tokens from the weak hands to the strong hands via reflections and rewards. And then we also moved tokens into the dead address via buy and burn. So also added the tokens pretty much to an investor that can never sell. So whenever the market round trips, and there's cycles with every market. There's the short cycles, like what just happened with Pulse Chain. That was like a 6 month period. just a pump and then a retracement, which that just happens with every bear market, with every bull market, throughout the whole entire bear market, throughout the whole entire bull market. There's always price action pumps and then retracements and consolidations, or just retracements in a bear market and then consolidations to the uptrend. But even in the grand scheme of things of the whole entire 4-year cycle, this is happening too. You can look at it in different lengths of a 4-hour chart compared to a week chart. It just depends on what your time horizon is. But that machine just works on all the horizons. Like even just this week, we rode the price down of Pulse, and now we're riding it back up, or all the alts of Pulse as well, just all the blue chips. And with that dip, it scares people because they're not really getting anything from that dip. All it does is scare them. But like with us, we're just raking in rewards from these dips because we're pretty much one of the only tokens I know of that are just taking advantage of the whole entire market ups and downs movements, because we know how crypto and markets work. All of them are connected. So if there's a dip in Ethereum, that affects us. If there's a pump in Ethereum, it affects us. So it's not even only Pulse Chain. It's actually a ripple effect throughout the whole entire crypto market. And we get to actually take advantage of that and just bring it back to a micro cap every single time, which is amazing because you don't really get opportunities like that with good tech. If usually when there's good tech, there's VCs involved, etc., and it starts out at a really high market cap. So
does anybody have any questions? I was going to say, guys, I kind of deviated from my script here. I was going to say, so this Twitter space and live stream is for you guys. It's not for pTGC or myself. If you guys want to speak, just jump in. I think you can. Somehow you got to raise your hand in the Twitter space. Just raise your hand, request to speak, and I will give you that permission. But I mean, there's only 3 speakers, and I'm doing most of the talking, and I probably shouldn't be. So raise your hand if you want to talk, and I will give you that permission because this is for you guys. So, and hey, Tin Top's in here. He's in the live stream. 33 people in the live stream. Thank you guys for being here. If you have any questions on the live stream, type them in the chat and I'll post them up and we'll ask them. And if nobody has anything, I'm going to show some stuff that I've been working on. Give me a second. I got a lot going on. We got Twitter Space, live stream, and my computer having my internet having some issues. So we had a little bit of a herky-jerky start. Mando and I, not necessarily Mando, but Mando's been after this, which is a way to identify within reason how much yield you can anticipate from your UFO holdings. And I'm going to get into that here just for a second. So there should be a link to this sheet in the YouTube video description. If it's not there, go to the Telegram and do /spreadsheet. And this thing says it's trying to connect. You know, it's interesting. My Gmail wasn't pulling up on my computer. And this Google Sheets is a Google product. And it says it's trying to connect. I may not be able. No, I should be able to use it. I don't need to change anything. So if you pull up that sheet, and this is that sheet, /spreadsheet, there are 2 tabs in here. One is called pTG Reflections Estimator, and the other is UFO LP and Reflections Estimator. Let's just go over the pTGC reflection estimators. And the reason I want to go over this is because it's a little bit, I mean, I kind of polished it, and then I sent Mando a link, and I'm like, honestly, dude, I really need to explain this. So got a barking dog next door. So I'll just do it on the stream here for you guys real quick. Okay. What I realized, and I only have like 1 or 2 days worth of data on this, but what I've been realizing over the course of the last week or so is that we can track this yield and volume and such. Thank you to Snowflake Society, by the way, for creating this secretobank.com thing that has led to this. And let me just show you guys. So you can see the total volume for pTGC and UFO. And I know guys have been adding it up, and I have added it up a bunch several times. But now that it's so handy, I'm like, okay, I think I can convert that history, because it's not a forecast, it's a history, a daily history, into something that we can use to see what we earned with our bags. So you can see yesterday is blank for pTGC, but today I pulled the new information. So with a volume of 36,000, and the liquidity doesn't really matter so much. I'm throwing it in here because it's a cool historical record. And let me back up. So I made a 1 million pTGC stake back in February, March. Why only 1 million? Because it's easily divisible into 100 million or 1 billion. And because this is crypto factored out to like the 18th decimal place, you know, it doesn't really matter that it's only worth $18 worth of pTGC. So what I can do is with this spreadsheet, I can say, okay, the yield that I got in my wallet, and I can show you guys right here. I am taking, and this is that wallet with the 1 million locked in there. And this would be my holding pTGC earned, which is 838, and it's probably gone up a bit, but I put that in here. And then this calculates the difference from yesterday to today, which was oddly exactly 100 pTGC that this wallet earned for holding 1 million pTGC. And then over here on the right in the purple area, you can put in the amount of pTGC that you hold. And I just threw in 100 million, which would be 100x. So your value, and this is just for holding, you see it says your holding value. Your value would be 19 cents versus 0.0019. Makes sense? And then here I threw in this also, the APY, 3.65%. And then here is the staking yield. The staking yield for that 1 million pTGC is 148 for yesterday. And the value is 0.0028. There's the APY, and here's your staking yield. The staking yield would have been 14,800 pTGC, the value of 28 cents. And what I'll do over here is I'll probably put in like a monthly and annual value, so you can, see what it's worth in a bigger number, because 28 cents is not very exciting. But honestly, like I always say, it's not exciting right now, but in 6 months it could be. Does anybody have any questions about that while I have this open? Because otherwise I'm going to jump over to the UFO. All right, here we go. So UFO, this one's a little more complicated. We have two token prices. We got the UFO price and the Pulse price. And I did the same thing. I staked 1 million UFO. I didn't stake it. You can't stake it. I put it in a wallet. So I have actually in this wallet, I have 1 million UFO liquid and 1 million UFO LP'd. Same reason. It's easily divisible by, 100 million, 1 billion, what have you. So I've got, again, I have just about 1 day's worth of data. Interesting that the volume on pTGC is a little less than that of UFO. I think, let's talk about that. But let me explain this sheet first, and we can kind of bounce off of that and come back and explain why the volume's higher, because I'm curious. So when I recorded this morning, it was 43,000. There's the liquidity, and there's the yield, and I'm getting that from here. If you guys didn't know, you can see your this is the earn. This is the reflections amount, and this is your pending rewards for LPing. Two different things. If you hold, you're getting reflections. If you're LPing, you're earning pulse. So the LP yield running total was 1,322. So the daily yield was 31, and that's in pulse. And there's the value. There's the APY. And then the reflections were 254 UFO. There's the value in the APY. So if you put in it's not letting me change it. If you put in your UFO, and I just changed this morning, put in your UFO shares. And if you guys can give me any feedback on this, I'm open to it. But I this morning I had put in your UFO, but I'm like, okay, well, that changes because the UFO, if you're in LP, the amount you have in there changes from day to day. So I decided that I would put shares in there. So I just pulled this random number out, and there's your UFO. If that was your UFO shares and your liquid UFO, there's another random number. Your LP yield in pulse would have been 58,000, because of the data over here demands that your wallet in equivalency earned that. So, and then I updated the prices this morning. That's a value of $2.45. It'll buy a coffee, not everywhere in the United States, but maybe a few places. That's my goal, is to be able to buy a coffee. Probably everyone's goal. And then you're holding yield in UFO, 254,000 UFO, worth 57 cents. So go to the Telegram / spreadsheet. You can download this, make it your own. And this is always going to be changing, because these spreadsheets I'm always getting a new idea. But you can literally, based on the day before, and then you can see, if you go to these sites and you pull up, if you made $2.45 LPing, and you see that the volume is in the 40s, well, you made about $2 that day, plus the 50. If you hold any liquid UFO, another 50 cents. So I hope you guys find that useful.
So I have a quick question.
Please.
I'm not looking at YouTube, so I think it's a little harder for me to track what you're saying.
Yeah.
So right now you're saying you're making 50 cents a day roughly from that LP. Is that
if a person was holding 1 billion liquid UFO yesterday, they would have made 57 cents.
57 cents
In reflections, yep.
Do we know off the top of our head? I could go and type it in, but what 1 billion UFO is worth?
Let's find out. I'm guessing a few $1,000s. $2,262.
Okay.
Yeah, I need to get the APY. Oh, the APY would be the same, 9%. Yeah, sorry I didn't explain that like we had people that can't see it. So I'll try to do that next time.
Yeah, I think that's with all the besides all the numbers, mainly what people are looking for is what the APY on their
There you
investment
go.
is.
So APY for LP yesterday was 21% for holding. Just the pure reflections value, 9%. And that varies greatly from day to day. And if you're looking at the screen right now, I would not necessarily pay attention to that one. I hope that these numbers are just an anomaly because I'm just kind of, you can see I've been building this thing. So, but now I think I've got some momentum and I should be able to keep it up. And
so you're saying the APY for the LPing was 25% roughly?
21.
21.
I've seen as high as 45.
Yeah. So, the goal is as pulse chain goes up, the LP pools will grow. And actually, the LP pools have actually been staying pretty stagnant as far as size, even though pulse chain's been going down for the last few weeks, which is a good sign. It means people are adding LP to the system. And then when the price goes back up to what it was, let's say 3 weeks ago, our LP pools will probably be almost twice as large. And the bigger we can get these LP pools as a community / they grow from multiple ways. They grow because people add LP. They grow because UFO's price goes up, and they grow because the pulse chain ecosystem price goes up. So we have 3 ways to really grow these things. One of them is kind of out of our control as far as the pulse chain ecosystem one growing, but luckily the benefit of building here on pulse chain is, we're kind of connecting ourselves with a billionaire who's known to buying up his tickers. That's ultimately the goal. Also fully decentralized as product market fit, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But some things we do have in our control is obviously educating people on the system and, adding LP with blue chips or just getting people into UFO in general, because that increases the LP pool size. And as we increase the LP pool size, we're going to increase the APY for everyone. And when we increase the APY for everyone, we're also increasing the buy and burn of UFO and pTGC. So in turn, it's also increasing the price of UFO and pTGC because there's a constant investor buying them and sending them to the debt address, the smart contract in terms. So, like you're saying, like the 21% isn't super amazing right now, but we have to kind of look back at where we're at. We are at the bottom of pulse chain with a volume and volatility based protocol. So once we go up, let's say 5x, these APYs should be close to 100%. And for ethical, like value backed APY, that's really, really high. There isn't really anything out there that actually is giving out APY in that value that isn't based on inflation, because it's really hard to do. So like even, I'm going to use Hex as an example, the APY is 30-something%. That's completely based on inflation. So you have more tokens coming into existence that is constantly decreasing the value of your token. But with this system, with a simple 5x, we could all be earning up to 100% APY with a fully deflationary token, and the APY being paid not in inflation. So, that actually is quite a lot. In a 5x is very, very close. Like that's, in my opinion, very, very easy to do. I think we have a lot more room to run than just a 5x. I think everyone here on Pulse Chain is on Pulse Chain for a reason of not looking for just a 5x, where if we just wanted a 5x, we would have just held Ethereum or Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That kind of just shows, the APY being that at these levels is actually pretty good because it's all actual backed APY with real value and real utility. It's not just inflating the price, which, and then it also shows that, a little bit of that APY is in our hands as a community, as we keep educating people on the system of like, hey, have your tokens work for you because they're working for you. You're earning your own APY for the most part, but they're also working for the token itself, because the more APY you're earning, the more buy and burns are happening on the backside also. So it's like a win-win. You're kind of taking care of yourself, but then when you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of the protocol at the same time.
Agreed. Who's got some comments or questions? Anybody in the chat? 44 people in here. Thanks for showing up. AJ Rip City Hex asks the question I've heard several times. Can there ever be a batch claim for pTGC? Yes, there can be. I will answer that one directly. Yes, there can be. You want to give us an update on that, Zan?
I know it was asked to the devs. I don't know if I got a full answer, how it's possible or not. Obviously, he's talking about the claim of the locks, I believe.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even get a full answer if it's possible. I assume it's possible. It's just going to be a button that's just claiming them all for you, but you're paying multiple transactions. I actually don't even know if Hex has a batch claim if you have a staking ladder. Maybe someone knows in the chat. So if you have a bunch of locks, that's pretty much like having a bunch of Hex stakes. You know, I don't think there wouldn't be a batch claim because you have them ending all at different times, and it doesn't work the same way. I just realized. But yeah, everyone's been obsessing about that. I personally, it's like the least of my worries, because I'm like, guys, slow down on, like, why do you want 1,000 different laddered locks? Like, you know, have a few, not a crazy number to where you're obsessing about it. But yeah, it's on the list.
There you go, AJ. It's on the list. Yeah, I guess that would be mostly, that question would mostly be coming from people that have the longer the ladder, or the taller the ladder, the more likely you're going to want a batch claim for sure.
Well, and then on top of that, like, the more you separate it, like, you're creating the ladder, but then you're also creating the scenario where you should be claiming a little bit less, because you have to pay the transaction fee on every one of those claims. So you need to make sure that the rewards you're getting are more than what the gas is, or you're just throwing money down the drain. You know what I mean? You need to make sure that the claim is worth the gas transaction. I know on Pulse Chain it's really cheap, but, you know, if your ladder has small amounts in it, you know, you just want to make sure it's worth it, is I guess where I'm getting at. Some people are super obsessed with auto compounding it, or compounding in, and really, for the compounding to make a huge difference, you don't need to do it that often. I think me and you ran the numbers, Banana, and, you know, just claiming once a month is almost the same as claiming every week once you take away the gas fees and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yep. So there's a calculator in that sheet, and I think it's called compounding yield. And what that demonstrates is that compounding more than about once a week is pretty much like beating your head against the wall. You're really not garnering that much more yield. I was obsessed with compounding in the beginning when I first got into pTGC, and then had a conversation in the chat, and the guys were doubting that it was effective to compound, you know, daily or hourly. And I was like, what? Okay. So I did the research, and I actually built a little calculator that shows you once a week is about the sweet spot. Yeah, you'll get a little bit if you compound more, but yeah, weekly. However, if you get a large influx of yield, then yeah, I'm a proponent of compounding that. I did that this week. There was quite a bit of yield, not like quite a bit, but like more than normal came in after the big run down earlier this week, and there were some unlocks, and so I cleared out my wallets and recycled all that into my principal, staked it. So, but again, there's a calculator in there. You can have a look at that and determine for yourself how frequently you want to compound.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate on sometimes less is more. You know, you don't really want to always be clicking as many buttons as you can, especially in this industry. It's sometimes better to just get your tokens where they need to be earning you yield. And, you know, personally, I try to not even use those computers that much because I know they're working in the back end. And what happens is the more likely you're clicking on stuff and doing this and Google searching this here, I'm going to Google here, like you're just making yourself more proactive for something to happen.
Mm-hmm. AJ, Rick,
click a wrong button. That's happened to people. They were trying to claim and they unlocked and lost 30%. And they said that it was specifically because they were doing it so much that it just became a habit. So then they went to do it and they were complacent about it. And then they accidentally clicked the wrong button, pressed confirm, and boom, it was done. So it's just like, I think it's important every time you're kind of doing these actions is make sure you remember that this is all real money, real value, and you want to treat it with importance, not just, oh, if I'm playing this game again. You know, I guess if you want to look at crypto as a game, you can. But the tools that we're creating here, I look at as real investment financial tools. Like that's my goal with these things is for them to be real financial tools that people can use for investments that produces them real yield based on real value, not inflation, blah, blah, blah. So treat them like that.
Yeah. I'll share my sad story. I'm brand new to this ecosystem. I came in Saturday morning to compound my yield and all that. All excited, have my coffee, and I'm right here. And I pull up the site and I clicked on claim. And then I went straight down. You know, being a melancholy person, I went straight down to the unlock, thought nothing of it, and hit that. I mean, I knew that I knew what unlocking would do, but I didn't read the tab. And there was no warning like there is now. And I nuked 24 million pTGC. And that was a sad day for the Prairie Banana. I immediately bought it all back. I had to. But yeah, you gotta pay attention. And it's nice to have those safeguards, by the way. Those are very handy for when it's late at night or just not thinking straight, just had a fight with your spouse, you know, any number of reasons to they can cause you to potentially wreck yourself.
100%. There's distractions all the time. You could go to your computer fully non-distracted. Next thing you know, you get a text, something pops up, you know, you hear something and just get unfocused and click a wrong button.
Yeah.
And it's not like, you know, with the bank where you could say, oh, this was an accident, blah, 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 and try to fight the issue. It's, you know, it's crypto. It's fully decentralized. It's when that deed is done, it's done. So,
yeah. And AJ, Rip City Hex reiterated something you said, pulling all your locks, starting a bigger one. I think he's talking about like, if you got 90-day locks that are mature, you can end those and just put them into another 90-day lock. And then you don't have to pay that fee. That's a great idea. Yeah, man. I had not even thought of that either. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that.
Well, you would have to wait the 90 days again. So if you're already fulfilled the 90 days, if you feel comfortable fulfilling another 90 days, you can go ahead and do that. But yeah.
Yep, agreed. And at this point in the cycle, I'm willing to go 90 days. But now I'm starting to pay attention for my own investing. I'm like, okay, can I wait 90 days? Well, hopefully by next July, we won't be willing to wait 90 days. Tin Top says, I'm still catching up from the beginning, but going over UFO yield makes me bullish on only buying more UFO. Yeah, no kidding, man. That's my new favorite, man. And yeah, thanks to the Snowflake Society for making that website. That is super handy. Have you been there yourself, Zen? Have you been to that site?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Such an awesome tool that he created.
Yeah, and there's going to be more stuff like that. Like when I came into Hex, there were so many cool tools. I was like, wow, this is amazing, and they're all community created. But there'll be stuff coming for pTGC and UFO like that.
Yeah, I love those tools for pTGC and UFO because they're like, maybe with another token, it doesn't matter that much, but daily basis is like one of the most important things of our protocol, in my opinion, because that's what's doing the bind burns, that's what's doing the API, that's what's doing the rewards. So you want to actually see in real time how the web is working. Like, for today as an example, I think UFO has like $45,000 in volume, and I would assume at least 75% of that is from our bots, I would say. Definitely nothing less than 50%. In the recent weeks, it's even been up to like 90%, in my opinion, just by studying the transactions that go through and seeing where they go and looking at the wallets, if it's a bot, if it's a human, if it's an auto router. And when you have numbers like that are working off of just the unique tool that you set up, or the unique web that we're setting up as a community, because we're all participating in this by adding our liquidity, it's really reassuring. You just like, you're doing it, you're doing the protocol, and then it's working right in front of your face. And then obviously we have 9 months of data from pTGC2 of it working. So it's just not really like a promise like you see in most protocols or most projects, companies. It's like, okay, one day this will happen, or we're working on this. It's like you do it and it's happening, which is a good feeling. It's working, it's done.
Yep. And it's cool to be able to pop in your address to adapt, and it can give you all kind of information on what's been going on in your wallet, like you can do with DBank, and I imagine at some point we'll have something for pTGC and UFO, or some site will be able to get all that information, like your day, like maybe your daily reflections earned and staking rewards, and you could get all kind of.
Hey, Banana, are you still there? Because I don't hear anyone talking. I don't know if you guys hear me.
I can hear you. Can you guys hear me? I don't see any changes. Okay. All right. You guys can hear me on YouTube. I imagine you can hear me on Twitter. Yeah, here we go, man. Shaka, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Cool. Okay. We're gonna bring
I was
Zen.
hearing Zen too, but it looks like he went to listener status instead of speaker status.
He's speaker now.
Hey, yeah, sorry, I stopped hearing everyone or anyone, I think.
So I have a question for Zen. What is it that you think people miss the most about pTGC and UFO? Like, what message or what value or what trait, whatever you want to think of, what do you wish people knew more about pTGC and UFO that they're missing?
I think what everyone's missing is just that they keep relating projects like pTGC and UFO back to things they already know exist. And when they do that, they're cutting the protocol short because there's just not anything out in crypto that it can relate to. I think the biggest thing is just the fees. So when people see fees attached, they instantly think of every other fee token that's ever been created as ultimately in my opinion, I probably don't know them all, but most of them have failed. And that's not necessarily because of the fees. I would say it's because of just crypto in general. 99% of stuff does fail in crypto. So sadly, the fee structure kind of brings that nuance to it. And the certain tokens that have succeeded over time or have held value have been like heavily VC backed and stuff like that, which has just never been really a fee token before. So I think people relate the fees to that. But the cool thing about the fees in this unique situation is the fees are actually what brings the value, because if we had this web structure without the fees, the web structure wouldn't really genuinely help the protocol necessarily to the extent. So I think we have this unique scenario where the fees are actually bringing the value to the protocol via the unique web structure. It kind of solves the problems of all crypto. The problems of all crypto is like, well, when buys stop, the only thing to do is sell. And then when sells start, the price goes down forever, and then buys don't come back, blah, 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 blah. No value comes back and project dies. Like that's ultimately the story of 99% of crypto. But when we created this web with the smart contracts that kind of always buy no matter what, it creates the scenario that everyone is really looking for in crypto. I just don't think people have found it yet and found pTGC and UFO. And a lot of the people that have heard about it, I think instantly just look at the fee structure and relate it to other fee-based tokens. And, you know, with a protocol like this, it's not something you can just look at the logo, or I think the logos are decently cool, but it's more than that. So I think it takes, you know, it's not something you can learn within 5 minutes. It's, you know, I've been educating people on these protocols for 10 months now, and I'm still educating people on a lot of the ideas that have been here for multiple months that I've constantly been still learning. So that just kind of shows you, like, we're dealing with a really educated base of people here on Hex or on Pulse Chain, just from Hex in general. And they're still trying to catch up and understand this protocol and see how it works. And you can really see when people actually do start to understand the protocol, it's like an aha moment. Like, and I said this example the other day is the person who got me into Hex, who is a day one Hex person, when I explained this protocol, he said, if what you're saying is true, you've solved crypto. And that's what we're still discovering right here, is the idea that we've created, like me and the team and the group of guys, if this actually plays out, how all the math has been adding up to play out, we've seen it already react, how we've assumed it would react based on math, just like when Pulse Chain ran up a 4x and pTGC went up 15x, and then we bought and bird supply, blah, blah, blah. Like, we've already seen the machine work, but we're still at the beginning phases of it. We're still in year one in the bottom of Pulse Chain. So really what time is going to tell is this next year. And, you know, I believe that we have solved the problem of crypto. And I think that's not only because of pTGC and UFO, but a lot on the hands of Richard Hart as well, by giving us this unique opportunity. And I think the sad truth is when people will realize this, price will be a lot higher, but I still believe it will be a good opportunity for them to get in, because I think price will continue to keep chugging upwards in a general direction due to the tokenomics and the math behind the protocol. And that's just goes back to the overall design of the protocol, is it's designed to continue to keep going up. So maybe that answered your question, Shaka.
Yeah, no, I think that's common for what I see too. People miss all that. And a good point you bring up about people are used to the other protocols. The thing I find is people forget and don't understand and can't grasp the fact that all the rewards for pTGC and UFO, none of them come from any inflation. That seems to be a constant reminder when I'm talking to people. And like you just pointed out, it's because they're so used to rewards coming from inflation. So when we can kind of stick that message in their head that, you know, all this comes with zero inflation, fixed supply that's constantly shrinking, that's when I oftentimes see that bit of aha moment.
Yeah. So, like, you know, the idea of inflation, it works for certain tokens. Like, that aren't necessarily caring about the price continually going up like ridiculously. And like this is, with the US dollar, for an example, which obviously they print inconsistently and unfairly. But the idea behind that is, well, there's always more people coming into the world, so we need to keep printing more money to obviously counteract more people coming in the world. They use it to their benefit. They don't follow that rule well, and they just print it as they please. But even with like Hex, for an example, is like, or Bitcoin, like they're taking in the assumption that like, okay, every so often there's going to be more people, so we need to keep adding more so the price doesn't go ridiculously high, which when you're trying to have more of like a non-feed token where it's a more transactional value, it makes sense to do that, but that's not necessarily what we're trying to build here. What we're trying to build here is an investment tool. Just like if someone was to take money and invest in property, you want that property to go up in value as much as possible. No one's like, no, we want it to be easy to sell these properties for less. No, everyone's like, no, I want my property to be worth as much as physically possible. Like we want price to go up. So, that's how I kind of look at these. If you had an investment property, you want that profit to be worth as much as possible. And you want that property to be producing you as much passive income as possible if you're renting it out. What's cool about this is you don't got property tax, you don't got maintenance, you don't got to collect from a renter. You just got your tool and your machine. And I think once this tool and machine is actually recognized that it's printing literally money out of thin air off of its utility that's not even user-based, like the utility doesn't even need a human to interact with it. Every other project I know of, besides like the core VC-backed protocols that have huge product market fit, need human interaction. And, I think that's what's unique about this protocol is it was discovered by just, normal people like everyone else on Pulse Chain that just, luckily was to put, A and B together and come up with it. And it's kind of just given out to everyone for an equal opportunity, because I feel like us as the little guys, and RH is giving the little guys the opportunity here. He could have obviously went to VCs and said, hey, I'm doing a copy of this, like, and he talks about this in his streams. He wants the VCs to buy after us. He doesn't want the VCs to buy before us. And there's just all these unique situations happening here. And, I think it's going to play out very, very well. And I think when people start to realize that tokens on this blockchain, because that's the problem, is everyone relates tokens to like a meme, or they go out and then you got to get out quick before the other people get out. But there's just never been a situation necessarily like this. But everyone tries to relate it back to things they know, and it's just not relevant.
Well, it has such good tokenomics. It seems like most people don't want to get out of them. Like you said, they're treating this for the yield for the future. And with constantly shrinking supply, the supply shock will come. I mean, when you look how much we've burnt in a bear market, a few God candles that we know are going to come are going to wipe out a substantial amount more supply. I mean, I've been watching for the last few weeks now, and funny enough, UFO is even burning more pTGC than pTGC is burning. So you start adding those metrics in for pTGC and the amount of supply that will continue to shrink with the amount of LP that's burnt over there is essentially an insurance policy on your pTGC tokens. It's awesome. Congratulations. You did an awesome job. Thank you.
Yeah. People don't even realize with the creation of UFO that, like right now, UFO's liquidity web is almost 2 times bigger than pTGC's. But since the tokenomics are specifically designed to help push pTGC up with the fees built behind it, it actually just enlarged pTGC's web by, in my opinion, more than twice the size, with just the creation of another, unique smart contract that has product market fit. And it doesn't always have to be about, this token versus that token. like they can actually work in conjunction together because they have different utilities. Like they have different purposes to exist, and you can't create a token that ultimately hits every single purpose in the existence of ever. So I think these two tokens hit two necessary purposes really, really well, and they both have shown just mathematically proven to work and go up over time, and the APY that it's printing is actually justified, because most APY that's printed in other protocols isn't justified. It just creates down pressure on the chart. But if you back the rewards being paid out by actual value going into the LP pools, you actually never run out of value that's backing the protocol. And I don't really know of anyone ever doing this before.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, well, I could ask you, Shaka, that same question that you asked me. Because obviously you know the protocol and you've been in the community. What do you think it is?
What do I think? What people are missing, or
Yeah. You asked me what I think people are missing in this protocol, like what they're not understanding, or.
I think, like I said earlier, I think they miss the fact that all the rewards come from itself, no inflation at all. I think they miss how quickly the supply is shrinking in a bear market with very small volume. And I think they are missing the fact that you can take the volume of the AMA bots, and now we've discovered the auto router, and that will multiply as the LP multiplies. And as all these tickers were paired with Rise, even if you want to ignore the AMA bots, right, of like what we're going to get in volume during the Rise. So say you even ignore that, just the rise of LP in itself, a 10x from here, all of a sudden, we're talking $10-15 million in LP per protocol, per pTGC, per UFO. At that point, the amount of money the bots have to move, or the amount of money that could go through the auto router, that volume will be that same 10x higher. And a percentage is a percentage. So whether you're getting 1% of rewards of 10 grand or 1% of a million, a percentage is always a percentage. So as those percentages rise with the volume rising, it's going to go so quickly, in my opinion, in terms of price and in terms of token shrinkage. So I think that's the piece people are missing. And the fact that just there is no protocol out there with a better market cap to liquidity ratio than your protocols. They're just not. It's not even close. And those will stay the same and grow as the volume on the whole chain grows. So it will be something that can never be caught. It'll be something that has so much locked in liquidity that you're going to feel very comfortable that you could exit if you had to at some point. But again, I think as people learn about this, they realize this isn't something I'm looking to exit. I want the X's so that way when I sell my yield at some point, the yield is worth quite a bit more. But I'm not so concerned about the X's in regards to selling my principal of pTGC or UFO. I 100% look at these as investment places to park money. I think that's a common thing. I come from the business world. I'm not a big crypto guy. I've had a number of different companies, and I can tell you it's always, well, where do you put the money next? When you start making some money, where do you put it? How do you make it work for you? For me, for a lot of years, it's been real estate. It's been, the equities markets, etc. But I can tell you there's not better yield right now than what we're already seeing and getting on two protocols in a bear market that have a few thousand people in them. So that's what really, really excites me. And I wish more people could see that and understand that. And I guess if I had to name one more that I think people are missing, it's understanding the UFO share rate and understanding that if you don't lock your LP now, or excuse me, if you don't provide your LP now and essentially lock in your UFO share rate, as the prices go up of both sides, you will get less and less UFO share rate going forward. So locking in a good UFO share rate now, essentially meaning you can put in more UFO paired with your RH ticker for, say $1,000 worth of UFO, get you X amount of UFO shares. Well, that at 10X means you're going to need 10 times not only the UFO, but the other side, the pulse chain side, to get the same UFO rate that people are getting now. So again,
you won't need 10 times the UFO. You'll just need 10 times the money to buy that UFO.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to. It'll cost you 10 times as much to get into that same UFO share rate than people are today. And since all the pulse rewards are paid off of your share rate, now's the time you want to lock it in. I mean, I'm assuming you kind of found the tokenomics similar to what T-shares have done, right? That the T-shares and the hex system go up over time. And this is just, in fact, in my opinion, a better way of even doing it. So it's like, I think you want to get your UFO, you want to pair it up, you want to lock in your share rate and leave it alone. And some of my math has showed me with mine that it'll take under a year, maybe even substantially under a year, for my pulse rewards to replace the RH ticker's value that I put into it. So essentially, just to make the math easy, if I put $1,000 of UFO in and $1,000 worth of pulse in, my math shows me in under a year, I believe I'll replace the pulse that I put into that pool. So essentially, I get my pulse back for if I want to use that to exit it someday, or if I want to use it to buy something else or whatever, and I'll still have my UFO and my original pulse in that pair continually earning me rewards. So I kind of look at it as, we always use this rental example, but as a rental house, to where I'm buying the rental house cash up front. And as I charge my tenant to rent, I am not taking any dividends from that rent. I'm not taking it. I'm not buying anything with it. I'm basically paying myself back on the money I used to buy that rental house cash. And if on this protocol, if I can pay myself back for the RH side in under a year, that is a huge win, because that means in a year's time, I have something that's continually printing me pulse that I essentially have already got my pulse investment back on. So I probably rambled too long there, but those are some of the things that I think people are missing.
Yeah, and how you're talking about that share rate thing, as price goes up, obviously the share rates become more expensive to buy because the UFO becomes more expensive to buy. That also works in the opposite direction on keeping the current LP providers in, because they don't want to give up that UFO share rate that they're earning passive income or passive yield on, because as soon as they close that LP pool, they're now giving up that share rate that they locked in the early days, which incentivizes them to stay in the protocol and continue to provide that LP, because if they close that LP, they now lose that share rate. So it actually incentivizes them to just stay within the protocol, keep that UFO share rate they locked in early, and continue just to print themselves PLS over time. And I don't see a lot of protocols doing that, because other protocols will just force you out. You'll fulfill your time and it says, oh, you have to close. You fulfilled your time. And I'm just like, why would you want to force early people out? Then they're forced to sell because there's no reason for them to be in anymore. If you let them just come and go as they please, but you incentivize them to stay, if the incentivization is good enough, they'll stay forever.
Actually, that may be my question. There's a question from AJ City Rip Hex I see on Prairie's channel. Maybe you can address it for him, Zen, but he's asking if his share rate is changing. As he, and there's a heart blocking the word, but his share rate is changing as he, I think it says acquires to LP, or adds to LP.
Correct, as he adds to LP.
Yeah, if you keep adding to your LP pool via our DApp, your share rate will keep increasing because you're adding to your share rate. Your share rates do not change because of LP volatility, though. So, like in an LP pool, impermanent loss is in effect. So, if one token goes down and one goes up, you get stuck with the lesser price token. You get the worst end of the trade because you're the LP provider. But your UFO shares will never change. Your UFO shares will stay the same unless you close your LP later on.
So actually, I wanted to speculate something, and so we can all talk about it. Let's say that you get in now, and the bull market comes, and we get 100x, 1000x, whatever x's you believe, and then you say, okay, wait a minute, the market's topped out. I better take some money off the table. And let's say it's all in. You've put a good amount in UFO LP pools. How is that something people can do? Probably can't, because you got to pull the whole liquidity or not. So maybe even having a ladder strategy of different wallets. So if you needed to pull some in the future, you could. I'm thinking out this like, okay, so my $1,000 is now 100,000. I'm just making up something, and wow, I've got a whole bunch of money. But if I pull it now, I'm going to lose my rewards. Yeah, but those rewards aren't going to be less if Pulse Chain has a 90% correction. Your $1,000 rewards go back to $10 a month. I'm just thinking out loud. What are people going to do at the top of the bull when all the signals are, maybe time to take some money off the table?
Well, so you don't have to close your whole LP pool. You can close portions of it. So let's say you're at the top of the bull market and you feel like you need to take some profits. Well, you can go and close half of that LP pool, and they'll just take away half of your UFO shares. If that answers one of your questions.
Yeah, it does.
Yep. And then the other one, that's one of the cool things about, with UFO and pTGC, all your rewards are actually liquid. You get to access those rewards at any time. And I specifically designed it this way for a reason, because the person who got me into Hex was a day one Hex guy, and all his Hex was staked and he needed money, but he never was able to access any of he was rich as shit off Hex, but he was never able to access any of it because his rewards were also locked in the time locked. So when these were designed, we actually made it to where your rewards were accessible at any time with not having to close your stakes or not having to close your LP pools to access those rewards. So as you're saying is, if your rewards are up 100x, cash your rewards out and you don't even need to touch your LP.
I'm showing
and if
that
I could
on
add to that, Zen, I think the other beauty is, imagine a 90% correction and you're still getting rewards, the amount of volume needed for that 90% correction. So that whole run down, a whole lot of tax and fees are going to be paid that are essentially going right back to you. So if your mindset is, once I create this UFO RH pair, I'm never going to end the pair, then the correction just feels great for you as well, because if it goes up 20x and it has to come back down 20x, just say, that is, you get the volume of both directions, impulse rewards, just like Zen said, that you can sell at any time. So he's thought of a lot here. I mean, it's fantastic.
I have pulled up on my screen for the YouTube viewers the LP, manage liquidity in UFO. And so you click on remove liquidity, and then you can select 25%, 100%, whatever kind of percent. But you can also pick any number that you want, and you can remove that specific amount of LP. And I just wanted to throw in there into this discussion, like, my plans are always changing. I'll say that up front, but like right now, the rewards that I'm getting for LPing, like, I'm not going to touch this. This wallet is an experimental wallet, but in my wallets, I'm claiming my rewards, and the rewards are in Pulse, and then I'm LPing that Pulse with UFO. When I run out of UFO, I will take that Pulse and buy the portion of the UFO that I'll that I'll need to LP, and I'll LP, and this will be, and this is just how I'm doing. It's not financial advice, but this Pulse UFO pair is going to be my profit, if you will. So when I go to take profit, that's where I intend to take it from. But I'm open to you guys' input on that for sure.
Well, and I think, of course, a lot of people will do that over time. And then also new people will come and also add in to the LP pools, just depending on when they got in and, if they need profits then or later. The kind of cool thing is the tokenomics of UFO have actually been designed to outperform the pulse chain ecosystem. So naturally, you will be, or you should be, if everything, works as intended, you will naturally be getting exited out of your UFO position as the price of UFO goes up. So in the bull market, if you do want to close, let's say 20% of your liquidity pool down, well, already you will have exited yourself out of some of your UFO into whatever the other side is, the least performing side, let's say PLS. So you actually can not affect the UFO chart with selling it down as much or at all, because you've been naturally exited out via providing LP. And that's that will help the overall price of UFO in the long term, because you don't actually have to hurt the UFO price to take profits, and that's via the reward system and via just naturally getting exited out via LP. And this is good because, if some tool is like, and this even goes like why like it kind of makes sense to add back to your with your PLS rewards, it kind of makes sense to keep adding it back into the system by rebuying back UFO and adding LP, because if you find a tool in crypto that is working so well and it's proven to work and the code's functioning and it's still a micro cap, why even go gamble with other meme coins and microcaps that haven't proven to work, that aren't math based? Like, you have found a golden ticket here. You keep compounding. Anyone who did this with pTGC, who didn't sell their rewards instantly, are up 7x on their pTGC in the last 6 months compared to if they just sold it for PLS. So we're continuing to outperform. So financially, it's making sense to just keep holding the asset that's been working for you. So right now, naturally, if you're providing LP, if it continues to work for you and outperforming Pulse, you're just going to get exited out of your UFO position. So when you close that UFO down or that LP down, you're already going to have a bunch of PLS, and that could be the bag that you needed to take profits. And you might not even need to sell that UFO, and you can actually just hold that UFO liquid now and also earn APY, because now you're just earning reflections at the same time. So really the idea is hopefully there's no reason ever you want to sell UFO. If it's continuing to print you APY and it's continuing to outperform the base tokens, it really doesn't make sense for you to have to sell huge quantities of it. If it's printing you PLS, if it's exiting you naturally out, and if it's continuing to outperform it, and it pays you APY just by holding also, it incentivizes people to stay within the ecosystem, is kind of where I was getting at.
So, yeah, right now, when I take my rewards off my UFO shares, I'm buying pTGC because I think pTGC is undervalued compared to UFO. That's where I've been putting it, at least, $10 here, $5 there, but I'm doing it every day. Because I see you.
I think even Chaco was talking about, like, the liquidity web design obviously gets stronger as prices of either UFO or pTGC and the base tokens go up. And, that's obviously one of the factors of, why we're here on Pulse Chain. And he brought up the big green God candle thing is, I'm pretty much just a normal person. Like, I have money invested in crypto, and, I think, I run businesses outside of crypto, and I do fairly well for myself, but I have no Richard Hart. So in my opinion, the smartest thing we could have done is build on the blockchain that he's created, because he's a billionaire known for making green candles on his chart. So naturally, we can just connect via market making, via liquidity providing with all his assets, and any huge green candle that him or his investors put on Pulse Chain are actually putting those same green candles onto our charts without even buying them, which makes it like we have a $1 billion investor investing in our protocol at the same time, without it having to be initially us. Now, if we actually do get, let's say naturally people get onboarded the Pulse Chain and huge green candles come there, well, naturally a lot of people don't just stay on the blockchain. They usually start looking at altcoins. So then you get the green candles from people landing on Pulse Chain, but then you also get green candles from then people trickling down from the main blockchain down to the altcoins. So you get to kind of double dip the same people, because we're just a super small cup, compared to the blockchain. So the amount of money that has to flow into, Pulse Chain as an example, I'll use, more recently, a SAC wallet had to bring like $1.5 million into Pulse X to, bring it up 1x or something. I forget what it was. It brought it up to SAC rate or something like that. But if you brought $1.5 million into pTGC or UFO, we would do so many X's comparatively to those blockchains. But then we also get the X's by the money just getting brought to those blockchains. And then we've also seen in the recent times that we're getting free volume because of our liquidity pool size, that Pulse X is actually preferring to use our liquidity pools to route people's orders. And that just shows, and RH talks about this, is people are, making the market is in the people's hands. And right now we're taking it into our own hands with these smart contracts, is we're making the market. We are making UFO and pTGC have value by providing this liquidity. The liquidity there is giving these protocols the value. And maybe you can't get one guy to pump it up 100x because of lack of liquidity, but the honest truth with those meme coins that use those designs to trick people to get in, only one person's getting rich and 100 people are getting screwed. And that's not the intent here. So that, we don't care about having lack of liquidity to get quick X's for people, because no one even gets those X's. It's just one guy who's an insider that gets those X's, and everyone else just gets their money taken. So with this design, us not prioritizing the quick X's by lack of liquidity and more prioritizing more liquidity, that means all the investors actually have actual value backing their investment. And it's not just for one person, it's for the many. And it actually gives more time for people to keep coming in and participate in the ecosystem for a real investment, not a gambling addiction they're trying to fulfill, or a dream of getting rich quick off of that 1000x meme coin that they found early and overnight they're a billionaire. Like, I know that sounds great to everyone, but the fact is that's winning the lottery. You know what I mean? That's all those people are doing is gambling. They're just buying lottery tickets. And I didn't come into crypto to buy lottery tickets, ultimately. If I wanted to play the lottery, I would have just walked down to the gas station and bought a lottery ticket. I came into crypto to invest money.
Okay, I've got a second question here. So let's say that you provide liquidity with, say, Pulse X or Pulse or whatever you want, and UFO, you're still making the trading fees inside of the V2 pool. How do you track what you're making there? I have never figured that out.
Zen, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I don't think Zen's hearing that gentleman speak.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I'm definitely not hearing anyone else speak. I
Okay.
can drop down real quick and come back.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Black. Can you hear me?
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So, yeah,
I'll drop down. I'll come back.
Okay. Shaka, did you catch that question? Do you want to answer it?
Sure. So with PulseX, it's very hard to track. Richard hasn't built in anything into PulseX that shows you how much you've been paid in those fees. But how you get paid in them is in the PLP token. So yes, you still get your fees that you would from any PulseX LP you're providing. They're just built into and increasing your PLP inside your wallet. So I guess technically you could, mark down how much PLP is sitting in your wallet today, and then look a month later and see how much it is, and you should see the small increase. But you definitely still get paid your typical PulseX fees for providing liquidity.
Yeah, and just for anybody that's listening, make sure that you do your LPing from the UFO DApp. You do not want to do it from the PulseX DApp. Shaka, is there any instance where you'd want to LP your pTGC or UFO from PulseX? Well, not pTGC, but the UFO from the PulseX DApp?
I mean, the only time you would do it outside the DApp is for some reason you wanted to pair UFO with a token that's not part of the ecosystem. So, for example, say you had a bunch of teddy bear, and you just wanted to provide LP to get the fees, and also potentially because you think one's going to run more than the other, and you kind of want to exit one into the other, or different LP games people play. That would be the only time I could see wanting to do it outside the DApp, because one, you're going to have the fee to UFO outside the DApp, and two, if it's something that's part of the ecosystem, an RH ticker or PDI or pTGC, you're not going to get any of the Pulse rewards. So you always want to go through the DApp. And I do want to bring up what Blackthorn was bringing up earlier. He brought up to Zen. I don't think Zen was hearing him, but I think it was a great point. Is he's using his Pulse rewards from UFO now to add more pTGC because he believes pTGC is extremely undervalued. And honestly, I couldn't agree more. I think pTGC price right now is definitely worth scooping up a little. And I love that idea of reinvesting your rewards into one or the other, or like you're doing it, Prairie, into more UFO, or like, Blackthorn's doing it and grabbing up more pTGC with those rewards. And that's the beauty of the rewards being in Pulse is, let's say it's the most, liquid token on the chain. It's the main token of the chain.
Yep.
So it's just awesome that that's what the rewards paid in.
$1,000 will buy just over 50,000 pTGC right now. And 50 million, sorry.
Okay, another question. I went to go stake some pTGC, and I could not find the staking contracts in terms of length. 1 year, 6 months, 2 years, 10 years. I had to go look around, and I found a video. I think it was by some Pulse chain guy that talked about pTGC. And like 6 minutes into the video, I had to go find that and pause it, and that's where I found the reward calculator depending on your length of stake. And I wish it was on the site. That's just an idea for you.
You must be talking about the locking.
Yeah.
The locking.
Yeah. When you lock your pTGC, if you stake it and then you lock it, that's what I meant. When you go to lock it, what your rewards look like based on how far you lock it out. I couldn't find it anywhere on the site, so I had to go search YouTube and find a video to pause it someplace.
That's a good idea. Here, just a second, I'll get the Grays back in here.
Well, I think that would be kind of hard to do in terms of a calculator and display because the locking rewards are only
just a grid somewhere that says 6 months gets you this. 3 years gets you this.
Yeah, like from the white papers, putting that little chart on there that shows your percentage by year. Yeah, no, that is a good idea.
Just to recap for Zen, Black had the idea to put the locking grid that we have on the Telegram in, on the website, because he was going to do a lock, and he had to go research on YouTube to find out how long he wanted a lock for. So he had that suggestion to put it on the website. So it's right there when people are locking.
Yeah. Sorry, Black, if you're asking me questions that I just blatantly wasn't answering and I wasn't hearing you, due to sometimes Twitter Spaces are a little glitchy. But yeah, I agree with you. Ultimately, that's kind of what you can't get everything on the website, or it just comes really convoluted and confusing. So that's kind of what the white paper is for, is to get the fine details of the protocols of what's going on in the background. And the website and DApp is just more for the users to be able to use that don't know how to actively do those commands on the blockchain. Even if they do, it's for them. But I do agree that either some better education on how that works would either be helpful, or it just being right there, easily visible for people to understand. It might even help people extend their locks a little further if they're understanding how much more they're getting the longer they lock.
Yeah, I'm on the site now, and it says staking, and then you put it under locking. But like I said, I had to go search on the YouTube video to go find where, I think it was Crypto Coffee who did it.
Yep.
And it's like 6 or 7 minutes in, and I had to go get to that place, pause it, and then say, okay, what do I want to do? But if it was clear on the website, maybe even a little button at the top, home, staking, locking, and you can put a locking button just so it makes sense. That's all.
Yeah, if you ever need it again, it's also a / I believe, in the Telegram, and it's on the white paper too, which will probably be easier to find.
So let's get some clarity. The 90-day locks earn you 55% of early unlock penalties, and then it goes up from there. And I don't have the grid in front of me.
Yeah, it just goes up in 5s for every year. So
okay.
For every year you lock out, it goes up 5% up to 100%.
Okay,
and I guess for anyone listening, how that works is the locking smart contract on pTGC is only paid out when someone early end locks. So if someone early end locks, they give up 30% of their pTGC to all the other current lockers. Depending on how much tokens you got locked is how much percentage of that fee that you receive. And then when you are in that category, let's say you only locked for 90 days and you received 100,000 pTGC. Well, since you're only in the first category, 90 days, you're only going to get 55% of that 100,000. So you're actually only going to receive 55,000 pTGC because you're in the smallest category. And then the other 45,000 just get sent to the dead address. So they'll just never be sold into the existence of ever. They just get sent there. And that's how we've designed it, to where you're getting the percentage based on your tokens, but then you're also getting a percentage based on how long you've decided to lock your tokens up for.
Okay, so what if you wanted to game the system and you said, okay, 365 days, 1 year, what if you did 367? Would that put you in the next category or not?
100%. You should always just push yourself into the next category if you're going to.
Even by a few days?
Even by a few days, yes.
Okay. I think that would be a pretty good video to put on there. Like, if you're going to lock this, let's look at strategies to lock.
Ooh, hadn't thought of that. That's good.
Yeah, there's a lot of strategies. Like, I know in the early days, one guy was he didn't feel comfortable with locking up all his tokens at once. So what he was doing was he was every 90 days locking up 25% of his portfolio. So 75% of his portfolio was always liquid. And then his goal was, after 1 year, his whole entire portfolio would be liquid, earning APY from locking. But he only risked 25% of his portfolio at one time for the 30% fee. So he was technically only risking
like 5% of his portfolio at a time. And if he kept doing that, he would have it would have took him a year, but then his whole portfolio, because with pTGC, there's no time locks or there's no time penalties. So once you fulfill your time, you now don't need to exit your lock. And this was designed this way for what I was talking about earlier. With Hex, I don't see it as a pro to push people out once they fulfill their time lock. Because what do they do when you push them out? They sell it, because they either have two options. They either cannot relock and get constantly price inflated against them, making it so other people are earning APY, but they're not, or they can just sell it for what it's currently worth. And that's ultimately what happens a lot of the times is people are like, oh, I'm not APY anymore. I fulfilled my time. So now I'm just going to sell this because I don't want to lock again. So what our idea was here is if we give them the option to stay, a lot of people will stay because they're still earning that APY and it's giving them reason to stay.
And you're still earning your other rewards too, right? If you walk, you're still making your no. Well, when I make staking, you're still making your staking rewards.
Yeah, correct. So how pTGC works is when you're holding, you're earning your holding rewards. When you're staking, you're earning your holding rewards and your staking rewards. And then when you're locking, you're earning your holding rewards, staking rewards, and locking rewards.
That's correct. And that'll be
Pretty
on
much
everybody's
guaranteeing
homepage.
Everyone, the further you go down the line is putting trust in the system. There's no way someone putting less trust is ever going to make more than you.
Does anyone else care to speak? We have 65 people on YouTube and it looks like about 25 on Twitter. So thank you everybody for showing up.
And Blackthorn, if you're talking again, I guess I'm getting rugged again because I can't hear anything.
He's muted.
No, I
If anyone else wants to let me know.
Can you hear me now? Huh, interesting.
Oh, he's
I don't
muted.
have any major questions,
He's muted
so.
too. Yeah, I can hear you though, Black. Yeah, it is interesting.
Okay,
What's
thank
going
you.
on? Yeah. Probably going to wrap it up here pretty quick. Goo Gods, good to have you in here. Chris, good to have you. SC Romeo. If you guys want to speak, just click the buttons to let me know.
Hey, Prairie, question on timing for spaces, real quick. And by the way, these are awesome spaces. People are getting massive amounts of alpha on a protocol like no other chain but Pulse chain. In terms of timing on a Saturday, do you think that kind of 9, maybe a little early, we might get a little bit larger of an audience if we do it a little bit later on in the morning? Or
use time zones like earlier.
Yes, I get time zones. I get it. But most of our people are in the States.
Right. So what time and zone are you suggesting?
I'm not. I'm just posing the question and then letting everybody talk about it. That's all.
Okay. No, that's.
I know a lot of people on the West Coast to Texas, they're not necessarily up at 9 on a Saturday.
Texas, the West Coast.
I mean, from the West Coast to Texas,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this would, I'm in Mountain and Zen is in Pacific. And this stream started at 10 a.m. Eastern. So if we pulled it back, I think that's what you're suggesting is pulling it back 1 hour. That would be 7 my time and 6 Zen's time, and you're
I
suggesting
think
that
he's
might be
suggesting going the other direction.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
if you're in California, it's 10 Eastern. That's 7 in the morning on the West Coast.
Oh, you're suggesting to push it out a little further.
Yeah. So,
Oh, okay.
It's just a suggestion. Timing matters. And that stuff.
It does. It really does. I've noticed that.
The faces are phenomenal.
I agree.
And when I'm with B, it's always about optimizing time. When are people going to be most engaging the platform?
Mm-hmm. I think the engagement is good now.
That's
But
great.
but it could be better.
Well, no, this is emblematic, man, of how early we are with everything.
Oh man, the engagement. I mean, we got
Beautiful
100.
opportunity.
Yeah. Just wait.
Most of the conversation today had to do with yield and all of that. We all know that yield is just that cherry on top of the X's.
Totally. Zen, what do you think about pushing it out 1 hour? Let's see if he's. Oh,
We need to get Zen a new phone.
all right, Zen, you can talk now. What do you think about pushing the spaces out 1 hour?
Yeah, if we have a group of guys that want to push it back and want to participate in the spaces, I'm definitely interested in working with everyone's time schedule. I think really the only reason me and Banana picked this time is because we kind of just picked what best worked for us. And for me, I'm in Pacific and I get up between like 5:30 and 6 a.m. every morning. So I kind of just picked 7 because if I don't pick 7, I'm kind of just waiting around to do the space. But if we have a group of people that genuinely want to participate and want it to be a little bit later, I'm definitely willing to work around everyone's schedule. It was just kind of when we first started doing this, we were working around me and Banana's schedule. I think Banana's kind of an early guy too, since I see him popping messages at 4 a.m. to the group. So,
Yep. B Roots, it's good to have you in here. Thanks for showing up. Yeah, I think pushing it out I'm sorry. What was it? Lost my train of thought. Pushing it out 1 hour would be good for me, or pulling it back. And either way.
Yeah, I'm also, I don't know if me and Banana can lock in a time during the week, but I'm also interested in maybe doing one of these during the week as well. Because like you were saying, Mando, sometimes the weekends just don't work for anyone, for people who actually have lives, unlike me. Maybe they're not up yet and they're actually enjoying their weekend. But we could also do one of these during the week, maybe at a more ideal time as well.
Well, yeah, because the thing is, Zen, is I've watched, the reason why I'm saying this, we've got B in here, and I've watched from the very beginning of the show thing. And when you stay consistent, when no one else is staying consistent, you earn credibility.
Totally.
When you're showing up, when everyone else that talked trash and did everything and all their scam coins are gone, you consistently showed up to your community. And we're not just representing pTGC and UFO. We're representing in our entire liquidity web of coins and of tokens, right? Which is a massive, massive, amazing LP web that we have. Eutropa ecosystem, PDI, Teddy Bear, all the RH tickers, R tickers. We have a lot to talk about that's very substantial compared to the rest of the market, So, there's so many people that don't know about this yet. Even on Postchain, man, they still don't understand everything. they just have to put the time in. So I think now, showing up now more consistently, right here at this double bottom, this is when you put that time in. That's my only point.
Yeah, I 100% agree, Mando. And the cool thing about with pTGC and UFO, when we do our spaces and we're talking about PDI, Atropa, Teddy Bear, Ink, PLSX, all the RH tickers, is because of our web structure, all this is actually directly relative to pTGC and UFO. It's not just nonsense to fill the gap. All this stuff actually directly relates to the success of pTGC and UFO. If it's just based on the volume of those things, if it's just based on PDI actually reaching $1, like all this stuff directly benefits, or if it goes in the opposite direction, hurts. But luckily, we believe in our web itself, but we can actually conversate on these things because they actually are relevant. And it's a lot to talk about. Like, you can let alone have a space every week just about PDI, let alone, the whole pTGC and UFO ecosystem. You can have a space every single day about RH tokens, and we can talk about all those things, and they're all actually relative to our ecosystem.
Agreed.
So Monday, I believe there's another nice size LP going in. I think with like 130 million pTGC. From some buys we did a few days ago. Just another probably activity post that'll be popping up on Monday.
Right on. B Roots, you're in the chat, and I just want to open it up. If you want to say anything, you are welcome. You just make yourself, make the request. But if you're tied up and busy and just listening, that's fine too.
Yeah, but Prairie, I want to thank you, man, for all the spreadsheet work, because I've been using that, and it's very helpful to see where I'm at, and to be able to kind of hand that to people that are looking into, the potential for yield as volume increases. It's very interesting. It just helps paint that picture and set goals for where they might want to be. So thanks for doing that for us.
You're welcome, dude. Probably the whole reason I do it is to get all the ambiguities out of my head, because when I put what's in my head in a spreadsheet, it clears everything up, and all the hyped up numbers or the low, hyped down numbers are no longer, and it's just facts. And that's why I like the sheets. Now there is a little bit of, guesswork or history, if you will. You can do forecasting, but that's the idea, just to clear up the ambiguity. And I'm thankful that people are finding them useful, because I certainly do. Yeah. Well, guys, we've been on for about 2 hours. Grays, what do you think? Should we close it down?
Yeah, I'm good with closing it down. I'm either trying to run the urgent care for my son. He's been sick for 3 days with a fever, or we're trying to get an actual appointment with his doctors. So probably need to get moving on that today. Okay.
Well, yeah. Thank you, Zen, for showing up. Shaka, Goo God, Tree City. Good to have you in there. Chris, B Roots, and others, and people in the chat. AJ, Rip City. Man, it's a pleasure to have you guys here. And TG Zen and I are going to talk about perhaps changing the time for next week, but we are planning to do this every Saturday. We want to be those dependable people. We want pTGC and UFO to be that dependable space where you guys can count on. When we say we're going to do something, we're going to follow through. So we'll be on next Saturday. Hopefully less hiccups getting on than today. And we might change the time. If we do change the time, we will let you know on Twitter. And by the way, I just noticed, I don't want to close this down before I got to start paying attention to messages in Twitter. Well, it turns out it was nothing. But guys, thank you for showing up, and we'll see you all on the next one. Thank you, Zen, and everybody for coming in. Appreciate you. Whoa.
Bro, that was good. That was so fun. We had a really messed up beginning, but it turned out. I'm just so happy. What Mando said about these spaces being powerful, I agree, although I'm kind of busy on my computer doing stuff related, of course, while you are talking. But I'm what I'm picking up and what I'm putting down in the visuals. You can't see what I'm doing, but I'm like pulling stuff up that's on topic to whatever people are talking about. It's cool, man. It's really cool. And B Roots showed up today. And listen, I made the pTGC space post on Twitter about 2 hours ago. 55 comments, 102 retweets, 175 hearts. I have no idea how that happened, and over 1,000 views. That has not been happening. Somebody, probably B Roots, reposted that, and we got some pretty good exposure to pTGC. And it says we had 157 tuned in. So, dude, good job. Let's do it again, and let's talk about. When B Roots jumped in, I lost my mind. I gotta admit, I lost my mind. I can't remember I think we're supposed to pull the time back. Not that we're supposed to, but we offered that up as a suggestion. Was it pull it back? Let me know, dude. I'm so confused. It works either way for me. I think it was push it out. And that actually works better for me because then I can get some of my work done and then come in here. I'll just flip my work schedule around. But anyhow, sorry to ramble. Dude, it was good. It was really good. Yes, of course.